Well, hi, I'm Paul Malkmus, and today Ann and I were talking. It's Sunday afternoon, and we wanted some French onion dip. And it was like, well, that sounds like a really good idea, but we've never tried to make it vegan before. It's been years since we had French onion dip, so we thought we'd give it a try. So we came up with a recipe, and we're going to walk through the recipe. Today we're going to use the Thermomix, though, as we're making it, but it also could be made on the stove top and with a high-speed blender. But we're just going to talk through how to make it today with the Thermomix. So the first part of getting the French onion dip ready is to prepare the cashews, because it's going to be a cashew based. You could also do a French onion dip with tofu or store-bought vegan sour cream, but we wanted to make our own completely from scratch, so we're just using cashews today. So when we use the Thermomix to that, we can just take the top off, and we're going to cook the cashews. We're going to cook them for a few minutes and then let them set to break down and soften the cashews. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn it into our scale. And in that scale, if I can get it to cooperate with me, so it automatically weighs the cashews for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour in our cashews, and it needs a cup of cashews, which actually is 5.5 ounces. So with using the Thermomix, there's no reason to get a measuring cup out. You just pour it straight in. So here we are, just putting in 5.5 ounces. And if it goes a little bit over, it's okay. Or you can take them out easily if you go too much. Sometimes I'm an overachiever. I do that on purpose so that I can eat what I have too much of. So we'll just go ahead and leave it like that for now. So then the next thing we're going to do is weigh in some water. And so typically we put in about 14 ounces of water while we're doing this. If we're doing more cashews, so like sometimes we'll do 3 or 4 batches, and I'll put about 20 ounces of water in there. So 14 ounces of water, again, no need for a measuring cup of any kind. So there we put in about 14 ounces of water. Now we're going to just do this on manual mode on the Thermomix today. There are recipes for like cashew cheese, which walks you through all of this, actually even the cooking of the cashews, but we're just going to do it manually today. And what I'm going to do is just go to the manual setting, and I'm going to cook it for 8 minutes. So we'll just turn this on up to 8 minutes. You could do it for 9 or 10, whatever you wanted to. I'm going to set the temperature at 212 degrees. So it's just really at the boiling spot. And then I'm going to set the dial for speed on setting 1. And what that actually does is it's going to move the blades in a backwards condition or direction so that it doesn't actually chop the cashews at all. So they're going to be fully intact when we're done. So we'll just go ahead and spin this to the first setting. And there you can see that everything closed up and it's starting to work now. So it's going to run for about 8 minutes. It's going to be at 212 degrees, and it's going to continue to stir those so that they don't burn on the bottom of the pan, and so that everything just kind of gets stirred up nice and good. After this is done, then we're going to let this rest for 30 minutes to continue to let those cashews kind of soften up, and then we'll be ready to move forward with the rest of the recipe. Now, while that's doing that, we're going to go ahead and start our caramelized onions and actually make some caramelized onions. And so we're going to take a quick break while I reset the machine, and we'll come back with that in just a moment. All right, we have those cashews soaking, and so they finished cooking at this point. So they were just soaking, and now we're going to go in and start our caramelized onion. And the Thermomix has a caramelized onion program in it, so we're just going to use that because it's really nice and easy. It just does it all by itself, and it makes everything nice and smooth. So we'll go ahead and pull up that. I sent it to the Thermomix earlier today, so I'm going to My Week, and I'm just pulling up the recipe for caramelized onions that I saved there, and then I'm clicking Start Cooking, which now it walks me right into the caramelized onion process. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in some oil. Now it calls for 20 grams of olive oil, but we're just going to use 10 because 20 seems like a lot to us. If you're wanting to use butter, you could swap it out and use some butter. Or you could use coconut oil as well. So any of those, avocado oil would be another option for you to use. So then we click the next button, and it says 400 to 500 grams of onions. So this is two onions that we've gone ahead and peeled and quartered. And so it puts it in there. It puts it right at 428 grams. So we're right in the middle of what it calls for. Now this is twice the amount of caramelized onions that we need for our caramelized onion dip that we're making. So we're going to go ahead and save half of this, and we'll use it at another time as we're just cooking in the kitchen. So we'll go ahead and put the lid on the top of this. We'll look at the instructions, and it wants us to put a splash guard on the top, but we'll just go ahead and crack the lid like this and that'll work. So then we'll push next. Now what it's automatically done is it's set it up for 20 minutes. It's put maximum amount of heat on it, and then it's got it set to automatically go ahead and get everything running. So all we need to do is just spin the wheel, and it's going to take everything from there. So it's going to take about 20 minutes. First it's blending up the onions just a little bit, and then it's going to move into where it's just cooking them and keeping them stirred. So when we get done, we'll have some nice caramelized onions. So we're going to let this cook. We're going to let the cashews continue to soak, and we'll be back shortly to put it all together. All right, it just finished cooking for 20 minutes, the onions, and so we're just going to continue on with this process of caramelized onions. So we click the next button, and the next thing it asked for is some balsamic vinegar. So it wants 20 grams of balsamic vinegar. We'll go ahead and just tare that to get it back to 0, and then we'll pour in some balsamic vinegar. So it's 20 grams, and it's just measuring for us as it's going in. And we're almost there. There we go, 20 grams. And then we'll click next. And it's asking for some salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. So we'll just put in a little bit of salt in there. And we'll hit next. And it says to stir around the ingredients to combine them. Excuse me. It says to stir around the ingredients to combine them. So we'll just stir that around a little bit. And we'll hit next. It says to place the simmering basket on the top. We'll just put this on the top, the guard. Next. And then it automatically sets it up for 3 minutes at 120 degrees Celsius. And then it's going to automatically, we're going to move it to the first little notch. That's what it has it set up as. What that does is it has those blades that just spin backwards and keep everything from burning. So this will be on for 3 minutes, and we'll come back as soon as it's done. All right, we're back again, and we've just finished with the marinating the onions. So we caramelized the onions, we've soaked the cashews, and now we're going to make the sauce that the onions go into. So we've take the soaked cashews, and we've drained off the excess water, and we'll just add those to the Thermomix. Then we'll come in and we'll add about a 1/2 cup of water to that. And so we'll use our scale, and we know a 1/2 cup is 4 ounces. So instead of needing to get a measuring cup out, we'll just go ahead and pour in 4 ounces. And it just measures it for us as we're putting it in, which makes it a whole lot easier than trying to measure it out, and then you have another utensil that you need to clean. We'll add our other ingredients, and for this case, we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of lemon juice, freshly squeezed. And there we go. Look at that. Perfect. That was actually the juice of 1 lemon, so it matched out just perfectly. We'll also put some apple cider vinegar in. We'll put a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And so there we go. Apple cider vinegar is wonderful for digestion, but in recipes like this, it acts as an acidic. So normal French onion dip has a sour cream, so that's going to help give that sour cream type function to it. We'll also add some onion powder, so we'll add a tablespoon of onion powder. Let me correct that, a teaspoon of onion powder. Tablespoon would have been a little bit a lot. I mean, it is French onion dip, but this is a 1/2 teaspoon I'm using here, so we'll just put a couple of those in. And we'll put in a teaspoon of garlic powder. And we'll add a tablespoon of nutritional yeast. And we'll top that off with a little bit of salt. The nutritional yeast is phenomenal. It has a lot of B vitamins in it, but it also has a cheesy type flavor. And it's used in a lot of alternative cheese type recipes. And then we'll put in a half a teaspoon of salt. And that should complete our ingredient list that we need. So we'll just go ahead and put the lid back on the Thermomix. We'll close out this and we'll go back to the manual operation. We're going to set this for 45 seconds. And we're going to set it for speed 8, which is going to really blend it up really well. Finished blending up all that cashews and all those ingredients, and it turned it into a nice paste. I mean, just a really nice sauce, actually. So we'll get this out of the lid here, and then I'll bring that over and show it to you. In fact, we'll pour it into a container, and then we can mix in those onions in there, and you can see it all come together. But inside this Thermomix, you just see how it's this nice, beautiful cream. And it does a wonderful job just making it into a nice cream. We'll just use this spatula that comes with the Thermomix to push it all down. That looks phenomenal. Can't wait to try it. All on a Sunday afternoon experiment. So let's see here. We'll get a bowl from underneath. There we go. And we'll just go ahead and push this into that bowl. You can see it kind of coming in the... And the nice thing about that Thermomix spatula is it allows you to get down inside the Thermomix and really clean this up so you're not losing a lot of what you just made. Some blenders, it's hard to get the contents out from inside. All right, so now we have those put together. And we'll bring back our caramelized onions and we'll just stir them in. So remember, we're only going to use parts of it. So we'll just take about a half of this. Should be about half. And we'll just stir it in. So it all looks nice and combined. Because we have extra caramelized onions, if it isn't caramelized enough, we'll just put some more in there. That actually looks really delightful. Just there you are, homemade caramelized onion dip. And we'll be back in a couple minutes and we'll show you how we'll present it. We've now plated the caramelized onion dip. We've got some jicama and some carrots and some celery. Those are our dips. We chopped up a couple of nice small onions, and we'll just go ahead and sprinkle some on top just to give it a little decoration, and also for just some additional onion flavor. So it should be just wonderful. So now it's going to be our afternoon snack. So I wanted to show you a couple more things before we go. One is we caramelized those onions, and this did it for the Thermomix did it for 23 minutes it was cooking it. So normally if you left it by yourself on the stove, after 20 some minutes it would come back and it would be all browned and burned in. Whereas that did all the work, it stirred it, and it finished up with some beautiful caramelized onions. And then when we finished making the mix, of course, with all the cashews, it was all thick down in the bottom of it. So we just put some water in our blender, in our cup here, and then we'll put it on the Thermomix, and we're going to have it do its self-cleaning. So it's just going to completely clean itself. So all we need to do later is just rinse it out, put a little soap in there, and it's all done. So this is our snack for today. We hope you've enjoyed this, and maybe you'll give the recipe a try sometime.